Family, what's up? How y'all doing this morning? Buenos dias. So today I'm going to be reading from Genesis 29, 30, and 31. And at first I was using StreamYard, but now I've just decided to just go straight off Facebook. I thought StreamYard would be better with the quality, but it wouldn't even let me download the video yesterday. So I just decided to stay here on Facebook and just post it straight from that. So, um, Buenos dias. Thank y'all for joining me. And let's hop right into it. Genesis 29. Let's go. So it says, the title is Jacob Meets Rachel. Then Jacob continued his trip. He went to the country in the east. He looked and saw a well in the field. There were three flocks of sheep lying near the well, where the sheep drank water. There was a large rock covering the mouth of the well. When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the rock away from the well. Then all the sheep could drink from the water. Sorry, one second. Then all the sheep could drink from the water. Lost my place. Hold on. Then all the sheep could drink from the water. After the sheep were full, the shepherds would put the rock back in its place. Jacob said to the shepherds there, brothers, where are you from? They answered, we are from Haran. Then Jacob said, do you know Laban, the son of Nahor? The shepherds answered, we know him. Then Jacob said, how is he? They answered, he is well. Look, that is his daughter Rachel, coming now with his sheep. Coming out with his sheep. Jacob said, look, it's still day and long before the sun sets. It is not yet time for the animals to be gathered together for the night. So give them water and let them go back into the field. But they said, we cannot do that until all the flocks are gathered together. Then we will move the rock from the well, and all the sheep will drink. While Jacob was talking with the shepherds, Rachel came with her father's sheep. It was her job to take care of the sheep. Rachel was Laban's daughter. Laban was the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's mother. When Jacob saw Rachel, he went and moved the rock and gave water to the sheep. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and cried. He told her that he was from her father's family. He told her that he was the son of Rebekah. So Rachel ran home and told her father. When Laban heard the news about his sister's son Jacob, he ran to meet him. Laban hugged him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Jacob told Laban everything that had happened. Then Laban said, this is wonderful. You are from my own family. So Jacob stayed with Laban for a month. Laban tricks Jacob. One day Laban said to Jacob, you are a relative of mine. It is not right for you to continue working for me without pay. What should I pay you? Now Laban had two daughters. The older was Leah, and the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were gentle, but Rachel was beautiful. Jacob loved Rachel, so he said to Laban, "If you work, if I will work 7 years for you." Okay, so I will work 7 years for you. I will work seven years for you if you will allow me to marry your daughter Rachel. Laban said, "It would be better for her to marry you than someone else. So stay with me." So Jacob stayed and worked for Laban for 7 years, but it seemed like a very short time because he loved Rachel very much. After 7 years, Jacob said to Laban, give me Rachel so that I can marry her. My time of work for you is finished. So Laban gave a party for all the people in that place. That night, Laban brought his daughter Leah to Jacob. Jacob and Leah had sexual relations together. Laban gave his maid Zilpah to his daughter to be her maid. In the morning, Jacob saw that it was Leah he had slept with, and he said to Laban, you have tricked me. I worked hard for you so that I could marry Rachel. Why did you trick me? Laban said, in our country, we don't allow the younger daughter to marry before the older daughter. Continue for the full week of the marriage ceremony, and I will also give you Rachel to marry. But you must serve me another 7 years. So Jacob did this and finished the week. Then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as a wife. Laban gave his maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel to be her maid. So Jacob had sexual relations with Rachel also, and Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah. Jacob worked for Laban for another 7 years. Jacob's family grows. The Lord saw that Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah, so he made it possible for Leah to have children, but Rachel did not have any children. Leah gave birth to a son, and she named him Reuben. She named him this because she said, "The Lord has seen my troubles. My husband does not love me, so now maybe my husband will love me." Leah became pregnant again and had another son. She named him this son Simon or Simeon. She said, "The Lord has heard that I am not loved, so he gave me this son." Leah became pregnant again and had another son. She named him this son Levi. She said, "Now surely my husband will love me. I have given him 3 sons." Then Leah gave birth to another son. She named this son Judah. Leah named him this because she said, "Now I will praise the Lord." Then Leah stopped having children. Okay, Genesis 30. Rachel saw that she was not giving Jacob any children, so she became jealous of her sister Leah. So Rachel said to Jacob, give me children or I will die." Jacob became angry with Rachel and said, "I am not God. He is the one who has caused you to not have children." Then Rachel said, you can have my maid Bilhah. Sleep with her, and she will have a child for me. Then I can be a mother through her. So Rachel gave Bilhah to her husband Jacob. He had sexual relations with Bilhah. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son for Jacob. Rachel said, "God has listened to my prayer. He decided to give me a son." So she named this son Dan. Bilhah became pregnant again and gave Jacob a second son. Rachel said, "I have fought hard to compete with my sister, and I have won." So she named that son Naphtali. Leah saw that she could have no more children, so she gave her slave girl Zilpah to Jacob. Then Zilpah had a son. Leah said, "I am lucky." So she named the son Gad. Zilpah gave birth to another son. Leah said, "I am very happy. Now women will call me happy." So she named that son Asher. During the wheat harvest, Reuben went into the fields and found some special flowers. He brought them to his mother Leah, but Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's flowers." Leah answered, "You have already taken away my husband. Now you are trying to take away my son's flowers." But Rachel answered, if you will give me your son's flowers, you can sleep with Jacob tonight." Jacob came in from the fields that night. Leah saw him and went out to meet him. She said, "You will sleep with me tonight. I have paid for you with my son's flowers." So Jacob slept with Leah that night. Then God allowed Leah to become pregnant again. She gave birth to a fifth son. She said, "God has given me a reward because I gave my slave to my husband." So she named her son Issachar. Leah became pregnant again and gave birth to a sixth son. She said, "God has given me a fine gift. Now surely Jacob will accept me, because I have given him 6 sons." She named this son Zebulun. Later, Leah gave birth to a daughter. She named her Dinah. Then then God heard Rachel's prayer and made it possible for Rachel to have children. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She said, "God has taken away my shame." Rachel named the son Joseph, saying, "May the Lord give me another son." Jacob tricks Laban. After the birth of Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Now let me go back to my own homeland. Give me my wives and my children. I have earned them by working for you. You know that I have served you well." Laban said to him, "Please, let me say something. I know that the Lord has blessed me because of you. Tell me what I should pay you, and I will give it to you." Jacob answered, "You know that I have worked hard for you. Your flocks have grown and been well while I cared for them. When I came, you had little. Now you have much, much more. Every time I did something for you, the Lord blessed you. Now it is time for me to work for myself. It is time to do things for my family." Laban asked, "Then what should I give you?" Jacob answered, "I don't want you to give me anything. I only want you to let me do this one thing. I will go back and take care of your sheep, but let me go through all of your flocks today and take every lamb with spots or stripes. Let me take every black goat, young goat, and every female goat with stripes or spots. That will be that will be my pay. In the future, you can easily see if I am honest. You can come look at my flocks. If I have any goat that isn't spotted or any sheep that isn't black, you will know that I stole it. Laban answered, I agree to that. We will do that. We will do what you ask. But that day, Laban hid all the male goats that had spots, and he hid all the female goats that had spots on them. He also hid all the black sheep. Laban told his sons to watch these sheep. So the sons took all the spotted animals and led them to another place. They traveled for 3 days. Jacob stayed and took care of all the animals that were left. Then Jacob cut green branches from poplar and almond trees. He stripped off some of the bark so that the branches had white stripes on them. He put the branches in front of the flocks at the watering places. When the animals came to drink, they also mated in that place. Then, when the goats mated in front of the branches, the young that were born were spotted, striped, or black. Jacob separated the spotted and the black animals from the other animals in the flock. He kept his animals separate from Laban's. Anytime the stronger animals in the flock were mating, Jacob put branches before their eyes. The animals mated near those branches. But when the weaker animals mated, Jacob did not put the branches there. So the young animals born from the weak animals were Laban's, and the young animals born from the stronger animals were Jacob's. In this way, Jacob became very rich. He had large flocks, many servants, camels, and donkeys. Genesis 31. Time to leave. Jacob runs away. One day, Jacob heard Laban's sons talking. They said, Jacob has taken everything that our father owned. He has become rich. He has taken all this wealth from my father. Then Jacob noticed that Laban was not as friendly as he had been in the past. The Lord said to Jacob, go back to your own land, where your ancestors lived. I will be with you. So Jacob told Rachel and Leah to meet him in the field where he kept his flocks and sheep and goats. He said to them, I have noticed that your father is not as friendly with me as he used to be. But the God of my father has been but the God of my father has been with me. You both know that I have worked as hard as I could for your father, but he cheated me. He has changed my pay 10 times. But during all of this time, God protected me from all of Laban's tricks. At one time, Laban said, you can keep all the goats with spots. This will be your pay. After he said this, all the animals gave birth to spotted goats, so they were all mine. But then Laban said, I will keep the spotted goats. You can have all the striped goats. That will be your pay. After he said this, all the animals gave birth to striped goats, so God has taken the animals away from your father and has given them to me. I had a dream during the time when the animals were mating. I saw that the only male goats that were mating were the ones with stripes and spots. The angel of the Lord spoke to me in that dream. The angel said, Jacob. I answered, yes. The angel said, look, only the striped and spotted goats are mating. I am causing this to happen. I have seen all the wrong things Laban has been doing to you. I am doing this so that you can have all the new baby goats. I am God who came to you at Bethel, and there you made an altar, poured olive oil on it, and made a promise to me. Now I want you to be ready to go back to the country where you were born. Rachel and Leah answered Jacob, our father has nothing to give us when he dies. He treated us like strangers. He sold us to you, and then he spent all the money that should have been ours. God took all of this wealth from our father, and now it belongs to us and our children. So you should do whatever God told you to do. So Jacob prepared for the trip. He put his children and his wives on camels. Then they began traveling back to the land of Canaan, where his father lived. All the flocks of animals that Jacob owned walked ahead of them. He carried everything with him that he had gotten while he lived in Paddan Aram. While Laban was gone to cut the wool from his sheep, Rachel went into his house and stole the false gods that belonged to her father. Jacob tricked Laban the Aramean. He did not tell Laban he was leaving. Jacob took his family and everything he owned and left quickly. They crossed the Euphrates River and traveled toward the hill country of Gilead. 3 days later, Laban learned that Jacob had run away. So he gathered his men together and began to chase Jacob. After 7 days, Laban found Jacob near the hill country of Gilead. That night, God came to Laban in a dream and said, be careful of every word you say to Jacob, the search for the stolen gods. The next morning, Laban caught up with Jacob. Jacob had set up his camp on the mountain. So Laban and all his men set up their camp in the hill country of Gilead. Laban said to Jacob, why did you trick me? Why did you take my daughters? Why did you take my daughters like they were women you captured during war? Why did you run away without telling me? If you had told me, I would have given you a party. There would have been singing and dancing with music. You didn't let me kiss my grandchildren and my granddaughters goodbye, or my daughters goodbye. You were very foolish to do this. I have the power to really hurt you. But last night, the God of your father came to me in a dream. He warned me not to hurt you in any way. I know that you want to go back to your home. That is why you left. But why did you steal the gods from my house? Jacob answered, I left without telling you because I was afraid. I thought you would take your daughters away from me, but I did not steal your gods. If you find anyone here with me who has taken your gods, they will be killed. Your men will be my witnesses. You can look for anything that belongs to you. Take anything that is yours. Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen Laban's gods. So Laban went and looked through Jacob's camp. He looked in Jacob's tent, then in Leah's tent. Then he looked in the tent where the two slave women stayed, but he did not find the gods from his house. Then he went into Rachel's tent. Rachel had hidden the gods inside her camel's saddle, and she was sitting on them. Laban looked through the whole tent, but he did not find the gods. And Rachel said to her father, Father, don't be angry with me. I am not able to stand up before you. I am having trouble. I am having my monthly time of bleeding. So Laban looked through the camp, but he did not find the gods from his house. Then Jacob became very angry and said, what wrong have I done? What law have I broken? What right do you have to chase me and stop me? You looked through everything I own and found nothing that belongs to you. If you found something, show it to me. Put it here where our men can see it. Let our men decide which one of us is right. I have worked 20 years for you. During all that time, none of the baby sheep and goats died during birth, and I have not eaten any of the rams from your flocks. Any of the any time a sheep was killed by wild animals, I always paid for the loss myself. I did not take the dead animal to you and say that it was not my fault, but I was robbed day and night. In the daytime, the sun took away my strength, and in the night, sleep was taken from my eyes by the cold. I worked 20 years like a slave for you. For the first 14 years, I worked to win your two daughters. The last 6 years, I worked to earn your animals. And during that time, you changed my pay 10 times. But the God of my ancestors, the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac, was with me. If God had not been with me, you would have not sent me away with nothing. You would have sent me away with nothing. But he saw that the trouble that I had in the that I did. And last night, God proved that I am right. Jacob and Laban's treaty. Laban said to Jacob, these women are my daughters. These children belong to me, and these animals are mine. Everything you see here belongs to me, but I can do nothing to keep my daughters and their children. So I'm ready to make an agreement with you. We will set up a pile of stones to show that we have an agreement. So Jacob found a large rock and put it there to show that he had made an agreement. He told his men to find some more rocks and make a pile of rocks. Then they ate beside the pile of rocks. Laban named that place Yegur Sahadutha, but Jacob named that place Galeed. Laban said to Jacob, this pile of rocks will help us remember our agreement. That is why Jacob called the place Galeed. Then Laban said, let the Lord watch over us while we are separated from each other. So that place was also named Mizpah. Then Laban said, if you hurt my daughters, remember that God will punish you. If you marry other women, remember that God is watching. Here are the rocks that I have put between us, and here is the special rock to show that we made an agreement. This pile of rocks and this one special rock both help us to remember our agreement. I will never go past these rocks to fight against you. You must never go on my side of these rocks to fight against me. May the God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, and the God of their ancestors judge us guilty if we break this agreement. Jacob's father Isaac, God called God fear. So Jacob used that name to make the promise. Then Jacob killed an animal and offered it as a sacrifice on the mountain. And he invited his men to come and share a meal. After they finished eating, they spent the night on the mountain. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters goodbye. He blessed them and went back home. All right. So that's Genesis 29, 30, and 31. And so in this story, it's the story of Jacob and how he met Rachel in the beginning. And then it turns out that it's his mother's brother's daughters. And he had two daughters. And so Jacob loved Rachel because she was very beautiful. But then he also had a daughter named Leah, and she was basically ugly. Um, and so in the beginning, Laban tricked Jacob and had him work for 7 years, but he tricked him and gave him Leah, and he ended up having sexual relations with Leah, the ugly one. And he woke up the next morning and realized it was her and not Rachel. And so he had already worked for 7 years to have her. So then Laban had Jacob work for 7 more years in order to get his other daughter Rachel, because he had to go through the ceremony for the 7 days, and then it was like a ceremony that they had to go through. And then they start having children, and it gets crazy. It gets pretty wild. Like this whole story is just really interesting because in a lot of cases they talk about how God gave me this daughter, or God gave me the son, so I'm gonna name him this. God gave me, like, it was, but it just seemed like it was a lot of enviness and just going back and forth. And this is a just a crazy weird story because uh, not only did the two sisters have sexual relations with Jacob and have kids. Well, at first, Rachel couldn't have kids, but not only did they go back and forth and have kids, but they sent their slave women to have kids with him to get a one up on each other. So that just, like, I'm telling you, the stories in the Bible is just it's crazier than the messiest TV show or movie that you can watch. Um, so yeah, so they go through all of that and they have kids, and then Jacob decided to trick Laban because of all the times and all the things that he had been doing to him, how he changed his pay up 10 times and how he kept tricking him. So he said that what he gonna do is um, cause all of the basically make an agreement with Laban where he give him all of the spotted goats and the black goats and striped goats. Um, and basically he basically made the animals mate in front of this tree that would make them kind of basically have children with spots and with stripes and black. And so he would take those, but he would manipulate it in a way to where if the when the stronger goats and animals was mating, they would he would put the tree in front of them and they would have the goats. But when the weak ones was mating, he didn't put it there. So all of the weak goats and weak animals basically gave birth regularly, and all of the stronger ones had stripes, and you get what I'm saying. And so he was able to become rich off of that. Um, and then he ran away because he felt like had he stayed and just told him that he was leaving to go back home, Laban would have tricked him and he would have not had anything going back. So this is just just a really interesting story of like it makes me think about how in the beginning of time, even now how it relates to now, all of the trickery and all of the trickery and everything that they was doing to each other in order to be selfish. Like it was real selfish in everybody's case. Like everybody was trying to do things to trick or to um like be sly or be just selfish. So, but yeah, that's Genesis 29, 30, and 31. In the next video, let's move on to the next chapters. Let me know if y'all have any questions. Peace.